Hi guys, today we're going to make a reclaimed industrial desk out of reclaimed wood and some parts that I got off of Amazon. It's really easy and you can do it too.
So we can make an industrial reclaimed desk in 5 easy steps. Step 1 will deal with deciding and designing what we're actually making. Step 2, sourcing materials or basically putting materials together. Step 3, construction. Step 4, this is the finishing. And step 5, we will actually assemble the desk and get it ready for use. When it comes to deciding and designing, first you need to determine your needs. I am referring to function. So in my situation, the reason that I need a desk is because I need a multi-use space so that I can write, study, paint, cut, draw, and even use my laptop as required. I need this to be a standard desk with extra length so that I can place items on the desk without being overcrowded. Next, we need to talk about space planning. Space planning refers to how the entire space functions as a whole. So think about where you plan to place your desk in relation to all the stuff that is around it. So here are a few questions to think about. Do you have enough space to move around freely, or are you crowded? Are there any entrances or doors blocked by the desk, and is that okay? What height do I need the desk to rest at? Do I have existing chairs that I need to add to the desk? Do not just think about putting the desk into your space, but think about all the things that can affect the function of the desk. Now that you've thought about your needs and space planning, now it is time to sketch it out. You can also sketch as you conduct space planning if that is easier for you. Sketching your desk design will help you to visualize how things will look and ensure that you design with the correct measurements. Based on your space planning, you can now decide the measurements for your design or the dimensions. Just remember that the standard height for a chair is about 17 to 19 inches, and desks or tabletops are normally 29 to 30 inches. Be sure that your chair can fit comfortably under the desk while you sit in it. This is to avoid the desk being too tight. Take your sketch now to the garage and/or to the store to source materials and items that you will need prior to construction. Now we are ready to source materials. We know that we need reclaimed wood to make an industrial reclaimed desk. So where do we find reclaimed wood? It is easily found at architectural salvage yards. I had some in my garage already, but I bought mine at Schiller's Architectural Salvage Yard in downtown Tampa, Florida. This business is equipped with a website that even shows the prices. It's about $5 per square foot for 100-year-old barn wood. Since reclaimed wood is expensive, you need to take your sketch with you to buy enough planks. Note, you will lose some area from cutting, so buy a little extra, but not more than you will need. Other places that you can find reclaimed wood include flea markets, junkyards, old farms, auctions, and some vintage or antique shops may actually have some wood in the back. You can also make it by beating up new lumber with a hammer, chain, wire brushes, and painting it up with varying layers. The benefit of using reclaimed wood is that you are reusing wood that could have been destroyed. There is a lot of history with reclaimed wood, so look at it as a way to reclaim the past and preserve history, which is something that I love. Let's talk about the base. So, I decided to source the base for my reclaimed desk on Amazon because one, I have Amazon Prime and I don't want to pay for shipping, and they have many items to choose from. So I simply just typed in industrial legs and did a search. And as you see, there are various types of legs already on here. This one is a 16-inch industrial pipe table legs. 16 inches is a little bit short for what I'm looking for. These ones are 30 inches by 32 inches for these workbench legs. And then I came across these sets of industrial looking legs. These are trestle legs for a table or workstation. So these look pretty good. Two set of dark gray cross-cut trestle legs. And I was looking at the dimensions on these. So the height is 27.75 inches in height. So that is a pretty good height. So essentially I just added these to my cart and I bought them. Okay, so let's talk about tools. When I talk about tools, I am talking about power tools or items that will facilitate kinetic action, like a saw enables cutting or a paintbrush enables painting. Paint is not a tool, it is a material. Some main tools I will use include a cutting tool, such as a miter saw, circular saw, or table saw. You can also use whatever variations of tools you would like. I use a miter saw because it is easy to make cuts and it is on a stand. I use a table saw to basically rip the boards or cut the boards. If you don't have any power tools, you can use a handsaw. Power tools are more expensive, but just know you can also rent one at most home improvement stores instead of buying them. You will also need a drill or screwdriver, paintbrush, a regular brush, tape measure, and construction horses to elevate the wood off the ground. You can also use other stuff you have at your house or garage, for example. I will also use a nail gun to put in some finishing nails, but that's not mandatory. To power my handheld tools, I use lithium batteries so I do not have to trip over a cord. The table saw and miter saws must be plugged in though. If you're afraid of cutting, most home improvement stores will cut the wood for you, or even some architectural salvage yards will also cut the wood as well. Okay, so we need a few other materials to finish off this project. We need a clear coat, also known as polyurethane, polyacrylic, or even shellac. There are some other earth-friendly options out there as well, but we will use a polyurethane in a gloss finish. We will also use nails and screws, cloths, sandpaper of medium grit or 120 grit, and black spray paint in a satin finish.
Okay, so sometimes I get asked, well, how do you put this all together? So you have all of these really cool pieces of wood and you're trying to figure out how to make sure it looks right when you put it together. Well, the beauty of reclaimed wood is that it doesn't have to look perfect. In fact, the imperfection is what makes it the most beautiful. So all of these beautiful colors here, it looks amazing already, and we haven't even stained it and finished it. So what we need to look at here is, do we want this to look symmetrical? If you want this to all look symmetrical, then you have to have at least two pieces be the same exact size and the other two pieces be the same size, or they could all be the same size. So when we actually go to rip the boards using the table saw, we need to size them so they fit nicely together as a puzzle, or we can just sort of wedge them together. And sometimes it's like serendipity. Like these two pieces, these fit pretty nicely together. And you would say, well, I can see a little bit, but sometimes, especially with reclaimed wood, it looks good to have just a little bit of a gap. It's nothing that would actually cause something to fall through. So those pieces fit together. But if you see these two pieces, they look good together here, just right in this area here, and then you can see the warps and in the board. So this is a little bit too big, so I wouldn't have that. And even on this bottom piece down here, that's a huge gap, even when they're touching over here. I'm gonna have to slide this up because it's not even up here. So in case you're wondering how we're going to actually fasten these boards together, we're actually going to use a method like this. This will be on the underside of the actual table. But this board is a little bit wide, this plank, so when we actually start ripping the boards to make them even and sit next to each other, we're going to rip this in half, and one will go here and one will go right over here on the underside. With safety, we should consider putting on safety goggles, and this is to protect your eyes from any splinters or dust that flies up out of using the miter saw or the table saw or any other equipment. We have some cheap goggles just like this. Go ahead and put those on. And if you have long hair or hair that falls in your face, you may want to consider tucking it behind your ears, pulling your hair back. I just want to mention that before cutting your wood, you want to inspect for nails. So if you see nail holes, there might be a good chance that there are nails still on this board. And the reason why is because if you cut through a nail, it can turn into shrapnel and come back at you or fly and hit someone else. So it's really dangerous. That could be really bad. Okay, so we're getting ready to start measuring. So we're gonna start with this first piece of wood here. I always say measure twice, cut once. So reclaimed wood is expensive, so you want to measure and remeasure and ensure that your measurements are correct before you actually cut. So I have a tape measure here, and I've decided based on my sketch that I want to make a tabletop, basically a desktop, that is 74 inches in length and a total of 28 inches in width. So as you see, I just go ahead and lay out my tape measure, and we're going to mark off areas. So we're gonna stop right about here, but you would say we can't do that because we need to cut off the ends first. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and miter one end and then we'll measure again. Okay, so we're getting ready to get started here. So this is how this looks. We're set at 0, we're just getting ready here. We're gonna take a little sliver off of this. Okay. So we're getting ready to start the table saw. Just remember safety and follow the protocol. If you're not sure, then turn it off. Never put your hand in front of the blade. Okay, so we're gonna start it up.
Now that our planks are cut to size, we can move on to finishing. Before applying the polyurethane or clear coat, ensure that you clean the surface and wipe all dirt and debris off of the wood first. You can use the brush or you could use the cloths. If you choose to brush it on the polyurethane, you would simply get a clean brush, go ahead and dip it in there, and get that wet. So I started rubbing on the polyurethane. As you can see on this side, the wood has changed to a darker color. It almost looks wet. That's where the polyurethane was applied, and then on this side, no polyurethane has yet been applied. When it dries, the wood will have, this one is a satin, so it'll have a slightly satin look. Okay, so as you can see, we applied polyurethane to the entire base of wood, including our brackets that we'll use under the bottom side of it. We'll drill some holes in this in a little while once everything is dried. And these pieces of wood will be used to basically fasten the reclaimed wood together. I did go back in my garage and grab another brush. This is sort of an old yucky brush that I've had, and I decided this would be a little bit better with the reclaimed wood because you can really push the polyurethane or this clear coat into the wood just like this. So just sort of dip it in here and push it in because of the grooves and the texture. And as you see, the wood looks a little bit darker. Once it dries, it'll actually look a little bit lighter than this. Some people ask, well, why should I use clear gloss? Maybe I should use a flat or a satin. The clear gloss will actually not look as shiny. It's not going to be as shiny as you think it will be. It's just because the wood is textured. Sometimes a flat may not have the same effect. I usually put on about 2 different coats, clear coat on reclaimed wood. On a smooth surface, I would definitely use flat or satin unless you wanted something really, really shiny. Okay, so now we are ready to prepare the base to be sprayed in black. The first thing that we need to do is scuff up the legs using sandpaper. Spray paint the legs by using a consistent motion. Repeat as necessary. Once everything is dried and finished, it's time to start assembly. Now it's time to assemble. Ensure that you pre-drill holes in the brackets and ensure that every plank has a hole. You can spread them out however you want. Okay, so we're getting ready to drill on the brackets, but we have to flip the wood to the other side. You can't just flip it over like this because the pieces will not line up. So I already flipped these 3. So what we need to do is we actually need to take this end and put it over there face down. Perfect fit. Fasten the brackets to the planks using screws and a drill. But ensure that your screws are long enough to go through both the bracket and the desktop without going through the other side of the desktop. So we are getting ready to assemble our base. This is the easy part. All we need to do is follow the instructions that came with the legs that we bought. So let's put our industrial reclaimed desk together. First, attach the metal legs to the wooden brackets by using a drill. This will give us the extra height for the desktop. Remember, the legs were 27.75 inches and a standard desk height is 29 to 30 inches. We are able to get that extra height that we needed. Use the metal brackets provided with the legs to fasten the legs to the wooden brackets that we made. Once you are done completing both sides, flip the desk over. I also had a few extra pieces of scrap wood after using the table saw, so I decided to finish the edge with those pieces for a more complete look. I attached them using the battery-powered nail gun that I have. Now the desk is complete. So today I built a reclaimed industrial desk by following 5 steps, which included deciding and designing, sourcing materials, construction, finishing, and assembly. I used 100-year-old reclaimed wood that I bought from the local architectural salvage yard. This was from a barn. I wanted to add character and a story to my space. And just knowing a little bit about the barns in America makes my desk even more special and unique. I am happy that I can take part in that history and pay homage to the past by reclaiming the past. Thank you for watching.